What's going on, and welcome into your casual gaming news conversation for this week. I'm one of your hosts, Nick. That's Connor, and this is your weekly gaming news podcast from Co-op 64. Connor, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. It's been an uneventful week for the most part. Just playing games, talking about games, shooting content. Brady beat Bloodborne.
Yep.
I'm all caught up on Severance, but otherwise, like when it comes to the gaming news and the gaming world, not a lot going on.
Not a ton. This is a lighter week. I feel like I have some fun stories for us to break down today, but I have a weird one for you, Connor. We're now turning the page, it feels a little bit, heading into the second part of the spring of gaming that we have. Monster Hunter Wilds is going to kick that off. But Connor, what are you looking forward to that's upcoming in games?
I mean, obviously, Monster Hunter Wilds is the number one because it's the closest.
Yeah.
We're less than by this time next week, we'll be playing it.
Yep.
And other than that, Expedition 33,
okay.
I'm excited on. When is that? Late April?
Mid-April.
Okay.
27th? Or no, sorry, 23rd, I think, off the top of my head.
I'm a little nervous about South of Midnight at this point.
Yep.
Based off of the previews, I could see that game being a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 type of situation, just something that's fine or good.
24th for Expedition 33.
Which is concerning, but I'm trying to go in with an open mind with that. I was excited about it before. I'm still excited about it now. A lot of Xbox going on, basically.
You want to know what
the first part of the year
I'm excited about? And this is totally snuck up on me. Dude, Split Fiction is out in 2 weeks.
Oh, damn.
And I'm fucking stoked to play that game with Brady. Like, that's going to be one of those games that I would bet dollars to donuts makes our top 10 for co-op this year.
It's all going to come down to pacing. Is it a really long game? If it's like 15 hours, I think that's going to hurt it, just like It Takes Two was hurt by the length. If they trimmed it down a little bit and really kind of focused the story in and the experience into a tight package, well, I think we could be talking about it very highly. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I mean, even It Takes Two, I think I've gone down since 2021 when I played it. But like, even when I was playing it, I was like, this shit's amazing. Like, it's going to be awesome. And then I played it way out with Brady. That was awesome. I think that there's a good chance that Brady and I go and try to get it that Friday, and then we review it that Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're going to try 2 gameplay sessions.
So am I just supposed to do it with Laura over
yeah,
that same
well,
weekend?
yeah, I assume so. Also, that's going to be it. Like,
or am I just not a part of the review?
Yeah,
I mean,
you
honestly,
can be part of the
I can be
review.
fine with whatever.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it yet, but
Yeah.
I just know that Brady and I, we've been talking. We've been getting excited about this one. And I think that because of Monster Hunter Wilds and the amount of like fun we've discussed with that title, like we have a week of streaming, and then that Friday ends with like, okay, we have a week off where we're not doing weekend content for streams or anything, but like it's still going to be a weekend of content between playing Split Fiction and then doing the normal content shoot and everything. But I feel like it's been just completely overshadowed in the past couple of days, and I'm fucking stoked. Like, I cannot wait to play that game. I'm more excited about that than Expedition 33 and South of Midnight.
Was that in your top 10 for the year for anticipated?
I don't think it was, but as I've gotten closer to it, I've just been like, yep, can't fucking wait. It's as close to a guarantee when it comes to like how much I'm going to have fun while playing it as there is alongside any other game this year. Like, I'm more excited about that at this point than maybe even Doom. Like, I'm fucking stoked to play
weird.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but for me, like, I'm nowhere near that headspace when it comes to Split Fiction. So.
Yeah, it's odd. But so Expedition 33, we haven't talked about this yet. I'm doing our calendar. I'm sitting down on the co-op master doc, is what I call it, for our master sheet of what our entire year looks like. And on that, I put game releases, notable game releases that in green, it means we are going to review them. In yellow, it means that we might review them. In red, it means we're probably not going to get to reviewing them. And I'm looking at this calendar. This is yesterday. By the way, thank you to everyone that gave me well wishes about recovering from surgery. I'm doing great. I'm able to be on content. So cool there. But this was like the first thing I did since like literally like got out of bed. I'm like, okay, like let's go and get some work done, I guess. And then I pulled up that on the other monitor, and I'm going and scrolling and looking at the entire calendar. May, April, March, decently full. August, September, decently full. We have nothing in June and July. You want to know what that makes me believe? Switch 2, baby. It's right there. We are less than 45 days away, Connor, from seeing what's next with the Nintendo Switch 2. Where are you at with that?
I'm very excited for the Switch 2, obviously. I wonder how much of an impact Nintendo Switch 2 games have on other people releasing games at the same time. I don't think it really matters to PlayStation that much. I know that they are competing a little bit more than they used to just because they're competing for people's time in their own headspace, but I don't believe that if Death Stranding 2 is June, that they're like, oh, fuck, we got to move out of the way because of Switch 2. I don't think that's a thing.
So. Yeah, I don't either. But I do think that it's interesting because normally the summertime for gaming is more of the downtime. It's normally like 1 or 2 big releases.
That used to be the case. It's not really a thing anymore.
Last year, it was Elden Ring. For the June release, and then it was NCAA football, which is one of the best releases or highest selling releases in any sports game history. So
August had Black Myth and Star Wars.
True. I'm talking June and July as like those main months. I feel like August is when we start the fall schedule, even though we're not even there yet. I understand though that's on how the calendar works. But like when I think of like Metal Gear Solid Delta this year, I'm thinking of like, oh, that's a early fall game. That's gonna start kicking off the back half of the year where like those summer titles that I'm like, where are we gonna get the Mario baseball title this year? Where are we gonna get something that is perfectly summer that I'm excited about? When are we gonna get another Just Dance game, Connor? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I don't know what you're talking about.
But no, I was looking at the calendar. I'm like, we still need some answers to what's happening in the summer, and I do think that on April 2nd we're going to get those answers, and I'm really looking forward to that. Connor, you want to know what else I'm looking forward to?
What?
Housekeeping. If you go and support the show over on Patreon, you are making the show happen. So thank you to everyone that has gone over to patreon.com/coop64 and has gone support us, gotten this podcast 3 days early, gotten the Casual Gaming Conversation 3 days early, and gotten a bonus podcast every single week at the lowest tier. Obviously, there's higher tiers, including the people at the Dearly Beloved member that we shout out at the end of every single podcast. So go and get excited to have your name read off at the end. We're still in February. We got this episode and one more episode of February members, and then we're on to our March people, which will most likely include a lot of our February people. But shout out to those people. Thank you so much for supporting this team and this dream. Twitch streams. We are changing a lot of things when it comes to our Twitch slate. We are done with Brady Born. Shout out to so much support during those streams. Truly, like, one of the most fun games we've ever streamed together. Just a fucking blast. Brady going through his first Souls experience. Next up is Brady Shock for the Monday streams. Yes, Brady will be playing all of BioShock, going to Rapture for the first time ever. Connor, where are you at with that? How stoked are you?
I think it's going to be a completely different Monday streaming experience. I'm not going to ruin BioShock for Brady by yapping the entire time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit different with the chat, but I hope the audience will understand that we're going to kind of lock in, let him listen to some audio diaries, really engross himself in the world of Rapture for the first time. I think it's important as a gamer to have that experience be pure and exciting and good. So we're going to let him do that with us co-piloting.
We might put Brady closest to the TV to make sure that Connor and I aren't just dialed in on chat 24/7. But no, it's going to be a ton of fun. I cannot wait for this stream. I think that this is what Monday stream can be, is what we've always discussed with like posting these on YouTube and letting them be these more full play experiences. Also, if you're like, what's Brady Shock or Brady Born, there is a full playlist of Brady Born over on YouTube if you missed that playthrough, and that's gonna be the case for all of our Monday full playthroughs. We want those things to be evergreen on YouTube, and so that's why Monday stream Brady Shock will be a little bit more dialed in on the game. It's gonna be a ton of fun. Connor, what are you gonna beat on Wednesday?
I need to beat Parasite Eve. It might be a late night.
Yeah.
I'm like 5 hours in to a 7-hour playthrough, but I'm on my 9th hour of playing Parasite Eve. So last stream I was having an issue with ammo. I had no ammo, and apparently that's not a thing that people have an issue with when playing Parasite Eve. Apparently I've not been upgrading the damage for my weapons properly. I've been putting all my points into the ATB and the inventory slots instead, and I should have been putting it on my guns so they do more damage so I use less ammo. So off stream, I think I'm going to go to a couple locations, grind for some ammo and be in a better position there, maybe level up a couple of times and get ready to hopefully not be streaming for 5 hours straight on Wednesday, but there's a strong chance that is the case. But I'm finishing it no matter what.
Okay, sounds good. And I mean, you got this weekend of gaming ahead where you're not really playing anything dedicated, so you can have some time to grind and
I'm playing
get after it.
Returnal.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
I
exciting.
am going to beat Zelda tonight.
Oh
Probably.
really?
Yeah.
How long is Zelda?
16 hours.
Whoa!
Is what
I
it
did not
says
know.
on how long to beat, but I'm cruising.
I didn't know
game.
that you were grinding through that.
Yeah, I'm at the very
pace.
end. I've been playing it at home too, so like it's not like I'm just playing it in small little increments at work. But yeah, it's fine. I don't love it that much.
We haven't talked. You and I haven't like been on the phone or had conversations basically this entire week. This might be the least we've talked since Co-op 64 is formed. It's probably been a very nice time for you getting to not hear me yap it up about random business shit 24/7. And then for my streams, I'll be playing Firewatch. This is a fun little one-off. We had some time to schedule. I just beat Sifu last night, which was such a treat, Connor. It was the full-on moment of I beat him at 74 years old. I had no lives left, okay? It was do or die, and we got through it, and man, oh man, what a video game that is. But I'm going to be playing Firewatch, a little indie experience. Timing-wise, I know that it can be a little bit shorter. Me and Brady are working to see if that Thursday stream is going to be all Firewatch, or if it's going to be half Firewatch, half Cocoon.
Yeah, 'cause it's like 4 hours.
Yeah, so like I think that there's a good chance I do stream from my place on Tuesday, and then Thursday there's a chance that I either go to Brady's and stream from Brady's for an hour and make that transition easier, or we might just start and stop stream and then have Brady kick on Cocoon for the second half of Thursday stream.
Oh, I was gonna say you could just co-pilot it, but I guess you would have to stop and start stream. Technically, yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. But either way, you'll get that update on the schedule that will be there. And then Friday, Monster Hunter Wilds releases 7 p.m. Eastern. Sit down, get ready. It's going to be myself. It's going to be Connor. It's going to be Brady playing Monster Hunter together in the group stream setup with our good buddy Matt, who has played hundreds of hours of Monster Hunter Worlds, and he's going to be hanging out with us.
Are we all going to need to play a little bit beforehand? Probably
need to do the tutorial beforehand. But I mean, we're starting at 7, so that's going to be one of those. I think that round 5, you boot up the game, you play through the tutorial. 6 o'clock, you do dinner. 6:45, you get on stream. Anybody
who has played the beta, let me know how the co-op works in the beta. If it's an easy kind of experience, I know that it's not easy in Monster Hunter World. It's a little bit confusing, so let me know how that. I believe it's pretty
drop in, drop out, is from my understanding of it. But yeah, please let us know, because this is going to be an all-in stream. The way that this stream is going to work is 7 to 10 is what we have scheduled. We're going later than 10 o'clock, y'all. This is going to be an all-in stream. We're not going to like put a cap on it. It's not a subathon or anything like that where you need to like go and push a timer.
But it's till Sunday. Just like nobody sleeps.
But the way me and Matt have talked about this for about a month now has been Brady and Connor, you guys are allowed to drop out whenever you want. I'm not going to put any obligation on you. Your obligation is to be on stream until 10. But me and Matt are going to go until we can't anymore.
And then Monday stream
is Brady Shop.
Okay, and then Tuesday.
And then the next week will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all Monster Hunter.
Will we all be on all those streams?
You are hosting Wednesday stream. I'm hosting Tuesday and Thursday stream.
And if
whoever wants to show up, shows up. That is the rules on that. Matt will be around for all of those streams also.
Just me and Matt.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
What if I'm out, man? What if I need to go and do something else? Okay.
That's fine.
But yeah, no. So basically, Monster Hunter. The plan is it takes over the company for the entire week. Except for Monday stream, Brady Shock will still be Brady Shock, because we want those streams going out on YouTube and being able to be put in a playlist and all that good stuff. Discord, join the Discord. We're at 2,300 members. Do we hit 2,400
We're
yet?
close. We're like 10 away.
We're so close. Get us to 2,400 members by the end of this podcast. I don't know how that would work, but yeah, go and get us to 2,400 members over on Discord, because that community is so freaking awesome playing games together. They just added a gaming news discussion chat. So if you want to go and discuss news like this with ourselves and the community, there's a great chat for that. And I know that I'm going to be spending many hours in that chat, whether it is to pull articles or to see what's happening in the gaming news world. But yeah, it's freaking awesome over there. Check it out in the description below.
Shout out to Master Diz for that idea on the gaming news channel. So
merch, we have merch. Check out coop64store.com to go and get some sweet ass merch. Review us over on Apple Podcasts, and then comment section. If we go and mess something up in the in this show, let us know in the comments below.
Nothing really major from last week. Only thing is that people are mad that we're writing off Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And I want to say I did respond to a comment. our take on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 not getting nominated for Game of the Year has literally zero to do with the quality of that game. It has everything to do with it being pretty niche. I know it sold pretty well, but like even with that, it's not GTA.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to capture. It's not Doom. It's not something that's going to capture a ton of people. Ghost of Yotei, but it obviously is capturing more than you would expect. So it's definitely broken into the mainstream a little bit. But there's so many games coming out this year that I just cannot foresee that game getting up into the top 6. That's my only take. We could be wrong. It has nothing to do with the quality, though. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's fun to run around with your sword and shield, have to feed your character or whatever, and like sleep properly. I don't know what's going on in that game.
Do your laundry. I just know that there's laundry, and I struggle to do my laundry in reality. Okay.
See, and when it comes to being like closed-minded, when it comes to these kind of games, I think that's totally fair. I am 100% closed-minded and biased against Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I just know it's not for me. And I don't want to play something that I know is not for me and then judge it unfairly because I am going in not expecting to like it.
There is a chance. I will say this. I'm struggling right now with Ghost of Tsushima, Connor, because I'm playing it for a couple hours. I can't get into it. I can't get into it. And then I put it down, and then I'm like, that's why, like, even with the stream schedule that we had with Sifu and everything, I'm like, man, I'm so excited for Sifu tonight. But like when I turned on my PlayStation and Ghost popped up, I'm like, this has not been it pops up and I'm like, yes, I'm going to have a hell of a play session for Ghost. Like even tonight, I'm like, dude, like I'm going to hit up Noah just to hang out just so I don't have to play Ghost. So like, so I can like do something else.
It's okay.
Oh no, but I want to continue on with it. I need to get it done before Yotei and everything. And I'm having fun with it. I am having fun with it.
I know, but like you saying that it's a struggle, like you shouldn't be struggling to get through the game.
I shouldn't be struggling to get through any game.
Exactly.
But like,
so there's so many other games to play. Start up Cyberpunk.
Maybe I'll do that.
It's like, okay. You don't have to play Ghost of Yotei when it comes out.
Well, here's the thing though. Now we're at the point that in 1 week's time, Monster Hunter will take over the world. So I have 1 week, and it's like, can I go and just focus and dial it in where I can beat Ghost before then?
You'd have to lock in and like really like be able to get long play sessions in. And if you're not enjoying a game, like I've had this experience where I just cannot lock in and play a game for super long. Sometimes when we're reviewing something and I'm not super enjoying it or not like extremely locked into it, those forcing myself to play long sessions like Hellblade 2, 5 hours long. And like every single time I sat down to play like 2 hours, I was like, that felt like 5 hours.
Dude, Hellblade 2, I thought about this literally the other night because I was looking at my Series X, and that was a fun review where you and Brady were streaming something. I think it was a Monday stream, or it might have been a U stream, but I think it was a Monday stream. And I was in the other room playing Hellblade, getting it, like trying to get the review done before, and like we're trying to get a review out faster or whatever. And so I'm playing it on the monitor, and then I remember that night playing it on the big screen and like the sound design of everything hitting my earbuds and everything. I'm like, holy shit, I really enjoyed that game. Sorry, I know it's just so different.
Yeah.
You want to know the reason I thought about it though was the Metacritic for Hellblade, and the way that like we feel like we're so high on it and everything at a score of an 8.5 is very similar to the one of Avowed. It's around that same area, and there's a lot of hate towards it. But this is one where you're also high on it, or in parentheses high, you're 0.4 above the Metacritic, or 0.3 above the Metacritic.
Is Metacritic for about 81 now?
82 for OpenCritic. I checked that for Fantasy Critic today. Yeah.
Do you have it in Fantasy Critic?
No, I just was checking something else for Fantasy Critic.
Who has it? Is it Big Mac?
I think it might be Big Mac. Yeah, 82. No, dude, it's not bad.
Solid.
It's a decent.
You win. If you can average 82 on all your games, you're gonna win. Yeah,
but you're probably not gonna average 82 on all your games.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
Story number 1. Getting into the episode proper. Pokemon Presents live stream announced for February 27th. This is Darren Bontius at GameSpot. A new Pokemon Presents live stream has been confirmed for February 27th at 6 a.m. PT, 9 a.m. ET, and Pocket Monster fans can expect updates on new in-development projects related to the franchise. The company hasn't revealed any details on what will be shown exactly, but fans are expecting to see an update on the big next big tentpole game in the franchise, Pokemon Legends ZA, as well as sneak peeks at other spin-offs in the pipeline. And quote, Connor, you excited about this one?
No, because I think it's just going to be ZA, and then maybe like an update on Trading Card Game Pocket, and then like Pokemon Sleep will probably make an appearance or something like that. And if it's just Pokemon Legends ZA, I think that it's going to be exciting for Pokemon fans, but I don't know if it's going to be really exciting for people like me who are lapsed Pokemon fans who like are looking for a reason to come back to the series maybe. Though Arceus was one of those games for me that I did enjoy more than the more recent outings, but we'll see if Legends ZA is that title for me, along with Arceus that gets me kind of more excited about Pokemon. But even with my enjoyment of Arceus, I can't see myself really being stoked for a Pokemon game. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I'm at like an 8 out of 10 for this one, because this is just another example of, I've been reacting to Pokemon Presents for a long time now. I've been reacting for Pokemon Presents for about 3 years, and there are some really shitty Pokemon Presents that I've sat down early in the morning and watched. Yeah. And then there's been some exciting ones, like the announcement of Gen 9 and seeing our boy Flay Coco for the first time and everything and having a good time there. But like, there are bad Pokemon Presents, there are mid Pokemon Presents, and then there are good to great. And this has a making to be a good to great one, because we know that we're getting ZA, basically. Yeah. And like, having that as a staple in the showcase is like, cool. We're probably getting a release date, maybe, or at least a release time zone. I could see it be a release time due to the Switch 2 and them not wanting to give too many details on it. I could see it being a full like gameplay deep dive moment where we get 4, 5, 6 minutes to see what this game and this versions of Legends is, because we only have one previous example of it. So this would be an interesting opportunity to be like, hey, this is the all-in, this is what this game is moment. And that is exciting to me, because this is a game that, knowing that you're a lapsed Pokemon fan, I could see myself playing it for review for the channel and having a great time doing so. I was interested in Arceus back in the day, and I played about 4 or 5 hours at the end of a 12-hour stream. We streamed for like 17 hours the day Arceus came out. And the last 5 hours was us just playing Arceus and having a great time doing so. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see what this game is and try it out. But like, I don't expect to be like blown away at what I'm seeing when it comes to Arceus. Now the question is,
you mean Legends ZA?
Oh, yeah, ZA. Now the question is, are we just getting ZA?
Yeah, so they mention in this that there's a potential for the next tentpole title. No shot.
Why would you say no shot?
Because I think if they're going to do that, you need to like have it associated with the Nintendo Switch 2, and I bet anything that they are not saying the words Nintendo Switch 2 during this presentation.
So let's start there. Twofold. You're saying not a chance that we hear the phrase Nintendo Switch 2 during this presentation?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that, let's dial it back before we get into the next tentpole game conversation. When they're talking about Pokemon's Legends ZA, do you think that there's a chance we get a release date and it's just Switch 1 and we go from there?
I don't think they would necessarily need to put platforms on it if it is something that is coming out before June. You could just have it be May and have it be Switch 1, or just put the release date and kind of leave it nebulous.
If it's May, I think that the answer is it is just Switch 1, and that's it. And then you can play it on your Switch 2 through backwards compat, but like, we're not going to get this as a all in Switch 2 title. But let's say that they put up a September release date on this. You're saying that we wouldn't see Switch 2, that they would just say September and then that's it?
Yeah, because then they can kind of go back in on April 2nd and have another marketing beat to be like, and it's coming to Switch 2 and it's coming to both or whatever. Like, that's another exciting thing. You don't want to take away excitement from April 2nd if you can. So if it's coming to Switch 1, you want to just keep it in its own silo little package and be like, this is coming to Switch 1, be excited for that, and then talk about Switch 2 when the day comes. Or if it's coming to Switch 2 and it's like a split release, save it for that presentation, is my opinion on how they should handle it.
I think that it is going to be a split release if I had to bet, and I do think that this presentation, you don't say Switch 2, just to clarify where I'm at with it. But now let's bring in the next large tentpole game. Pokemon's on a 3-year release when it comes to their large like mainline games. 2019, 2022, 2025, Connor. It wouldn't be too crazy.
So when was Arceus at the start of 22.
Yeah, I believe so.
And then at the end of 22, we got Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
So I think you can do that here where it's maybe not that as big of a gap, but it's like May and then November. Or it's May and you get it in like midway through and give this game a little bit more polish that it clearly needs if they're going to do open world again. And you're going to the next gen. And I would assume that the next Pokemon game is next gen exclusive, is Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. So make it prettier, make it more polished, give them a little bit more time. I think that's next year. Personally.
Yeah, I think it's next year also. I don't think it needs to be this year, but it would not shock me if this presentation happens and we get the confirmation. Like, this is just Pokemon and Nintendo being weird. I wouldn't be shocked if we get this presentation. It is, hey, here's the next gen. It's out on Switch 1, like, and it's coming out in like November, like deep in like when we're already have the Switch 2.
Where does Legends go? Just in May, like we said.
I think that May is the craziest
turnaround.
Maybe June or July though. Like, it doesn't have to be May.
What are the odds that you see Legends and it's coming out September, October, November, and then the next Pokemon is the next year? And they talk about both of them, but they just don't put a date on Gen 10.
I think both are possible.
10,
I would say, I would say with Gen 10, we're not. The likelihood of seeing Gen 10 in about a week from now is like 10%. Like, I would say it's not happening.
You don't want to do that. It's just you want to have the focus and the excitement on your next Pokemon game, even if it's a Legends game. I feel like they should be treating the Legends series as big as Scarlet and Violet.
I hope so, because this seems to be like a new like subsect of what the Pokemon games can be, and if they are those interim releases between major gens, I mean, sign me the fuck up. Like, would be great.
When I just said as big as Scarlet and Violet, I mean the main line games. Yeah, Legend should be as big as the main line games.
Yes. Yeah. With that being said, we also need to talk about what would be personally my most exciting possible scenario here, which is we get the Gen 1 through 3 over on the Switch online and everything. If that happens, that is for me the biggest. It would be the final hurrah for the Switch life cycle, and it would do something that I would be so excited about for one reason, Connor. One reason only. Nuzlocke. Okay, like, we're doing a Nuzlocke stream in a couple weeks. Let's just put it on the fucking Switch, make it easy on us and everything. That would be, if they were like immediately like, yep, this is happening and it's on Switch, I would probably like that night boot up Pokemon on the Switch and just play some Pokemon.
Yeah, we've been kind of theorizing about that for a very long time. I feel like for every Pokemon Direct, there's been somebody who has said, this is the time. This is when it's finally happening with Pokemon Yellow, Red, and Blue coming over finally, and it's just not happened. And then you're saying all the way through Gen 3 up to Sapphire, Ruby, and
people are crazy with
Emerald.
it. Okay, but like I'm saying,
they've done remakes for all of those. I bet they're sitting there looking at it and being like, do we really need to port these games over again when we've already remade them?
The answer is yes, Connor.
Yeah, I know.
For the exact reason that I just said. I want to play those games on my Switch in bed, or for the Nuzlocke, or for whatever. Like, for me, this is one of those, like, it would be such a slam dunk marketing move. And I'm normally for like understanding Nintendo re-releasing shit and like making a fuck ton of money when they re-release things like Donkey Kong and everything that we just got earlier last month. But like, you made your money already on those titles. This would sell a lot of Nintendo Switch Online if they didn't previously got people in. Like, this would be an easy, hey, subscribe, hop in. And it would work really well of just like, if it is that, and then here's Legends on, that's the Direct, it's a phenomenal Direct. It is well worth waking up at 9 a.m. for this thing. Mm-hmm. Also, needs to be said, can we just do 11 o'clock? 11:30? Like, why, God, do we always have to do this 9 a.m. Direct every single time? But I bring it up all the time. I miss the days of being in college and having my McRiddles and watching these presentations with my buddy Chase. He will definitely get a text from me on Thursday morning at 8:15 being like, hey man, you should tune in.
It's because you have a worldwide audience, right?
That's why. It is. Once again, I'm just complaining. This is just. I thought this was a safe space, Connor, where we are able to go and hang out and talk about Pokemon. Anything else you want to discuss on this? Well, you're not going to be tuning in. You're not going to be live reacting. I will be live reacting solo to this for this Pokemon Presents, seeing what's next in Pokemon. So if you are excited about it, please go to Twitch and hang out with myself at 9 a.m. We're going to be having coffee together, talking Pokemon. And here's the thing, Pokemon Presents, sometimes they're great, but when they're bad, they're fun bad. They're laughably bad. They're hey, we have one more thing, and it's Pokemon t-shirts. Do you remember that moment, Connor? They legitimately were like, they were about to wrap up a stage presentation, and they're like, we have one more thing. As you've noticed today, we're all wearing Pokemon t-shirts. You can go and buy them now. Thank you. Have a good day. And you're just
That's
like,
so
what
funny.
the fuck? Like, it is so, it is funny bad when it is bad. And then when it's good, it's good. It's not like the Capcom presentation that we got a couple weeks ago where it's just like time wasting bad. So no matter what, it's going to be a fun Thursday morning. Come react, hang out. It's going to be a blast. Story number 2. Sony's PS5 live service title Fairgames has reportedly slipped. This is Andy Robinson over at VGC. Quote, that's according to Giant Bomb's journalist Jeff Grubb, who claimed in a podcast this week that the co-op heist shooter, first announced nearly 2 years ago, has been internally delayed into 2026. Announced in 2023 with no release window, Fairgames is described by its creator as a, quote, fresh, modern take on the heist genre, end quote. Connor, this was one that was breaking as we shot the last casual gaming news conversation where we were hanging out, and I literally right before we shot went and grabbed some Chick-fil-A, and I was listening to Games Best Decides as I do, and Jeff Grubb dropped the bomb being like, Fairgames slipped and it might be a PlayStation Showcase in May. And I was like, oh shit, is anyone reporting on this? And the answer was no, nobody was actually on the ball yet getting those reports out until later that day. We talked already about the showcase stuff last week, so I don't have a report in on that from last week, because go check out the last episode if you want that discussion. But we did not discuss this at all. Fairgames live service getting internally pushed to 2026. What does this do for you? Were you shocked at this news? Was this expected? Where are you at?
I'm not shocked by it, but I think the more interesting conversation is, where does that leave Marathon? 4 live service games for the rest of the PS5. There's only 2 of them that really seem to be percolating at the moment. It's Marathon and it's Fairgames. If Fairgames was slated for 2025, does that mean Marathon is definitely not 2025? And if it gets pushed to 2026 for Fairgames, does that mean they're going to release Marathon and Fairgames in the same year potentially? Or is Marathon coming out this year? Or like, I don't know what the plan is for their live service. You would imagine they don't want to release them on top of each other. You want one year, one the next year, hopefully. I'm hoping this means that Marathon is coming sooner than later, because it would be kind of weird for them to go from Helldivers to Concord to nothing in 2025, and then Fairgames and Marathon in 2026. I would hope that it's Marathon this year. And I'm more excited for Marathon than I am for Fairgames, of course. I feel like most people are, because it's Bungie and we kind of know what we're getting there. So yeah, I hope Marathon is this year. I am interested in what Fairgames is. I'm not totally writing it off like a lot of other people are. It's Haven, headed up by Jade Raymond, I believe, just a veteran of the industry who's been in a lot of places. So you have to have some sort of hope that they come together and figure out how to make a quality live service game after the debacle that is Concord, and the fact that it still exists and is still trucking along. You have to imagine that there's some good coming out of Fairgames. So we'll see.
Yeah, I believe that this is good signs across the board for PlayStation's live service, PlayStation's portfolio, just everything. First and foremost, I do think Marathon's this year. Grubb in that same podcast discussed the idea of like, hey, Bungie might not have been at this because Bungie likes to do their own thing. Like, they love having their own stage where they go and do their, hey, this is our deep dive to Destiny 2 30-minute presentation about the next expansion. This is what this is. It wouldn't be shocking if it was, hey, here's Marathon. We're going to do 25 minutes on our own thing on our website or over on Twitter or whatever.
But they revealed Marathon at a showcase.
True. But I think that the reveal aspect of it is the exciting part of it. I don't know if you're going to do a 10-minute deep dive. With that being said,
deep dive and then do a release date at the end of that, or like an announcement of a beta.
Yeah, I could easily see the next. I would say the next time we see this game, there will be beta news. There will be release date news. Like, there will be all in news. I do think that this game is this year. I think that initially they did have both of these games slated for this year to go out alongside the tentpole that is Ghost of Yote as this major Sony first party release, and then everything else sort of went and slotted in at different times throughout the year. And Fairgame's getting pushed to me goes and signifies like, okay, no, like they want to have that game take a little bit more time. Let's learn some more lessons. Let's make sure we're doing all the right stuff. Let's really question, should this be a $40 price tag, and figure out what this needs to be.
There's no shot. There's no chance Fair Games is $40. 20 maximum.
Yeah,
I think it should be free to play though, but we've kind of already discussed this.
Yes, I think that whether it should or shouldn't be, I agree that there's a good shot that it should be a free to play game and everything.
Do we have a donut bet on this?
Not yet. We probably should.
Okay, I'll do a donut bet. Free to play.
Oh, yeah, it's not going to be free to play.
Yeah, okay.
But Fair Games is not going to be free to play.
Right,
There's
nice.
just not a chance. Did you see Master Diz with 5 donut bets should equal 1 pizza bet?
Sure, yeah.
Fair Games, free to play. Free to play. Cool. But yeah, I think that this is a good sign that Fair Games is, one, it still exists.
Yeah.
It still is out there. Whether that means that it's going to come out eventually one day isn't a guarantee. But what Connor said a couple podcasts ago makes total sense to me.
If they didn't cancel it then.
If they didn't cancel it when they're canceling everything else, they're looking at their fucking portfolio and they're just like,
yeah,
cancel that shit.
They just cleaned
cancel
house.
That. Fair Games, you're fucking cool.
Yeah.
And there's a moment in the challenge, Connor, in the reality show, The Challenge, where somebody comes back from elimination and they're looking at all the people that voted them down there. And he goes, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And I just imagine that is the PlayStation lineup. And the you're cool is Fair Games, apparently. Like, it makes no sense that, like, you're going to point out Fair Games. You're like, you can stick around, come into the party or whatever. But that's seemingly the case right now, where like, you are doing something well enough that you're going to put in, I don't know how big the team is or at Haven, but you're putting salary back on the table for another year, it seems, for all those employees that are working on this right now. You're pumping more money and more assets into it. Obviously, you have a bunch of other teams probably going in, piecemealing, helping out with what that game is going to end up being and everything. And like, this is just all good signs for what this game could and should be, in my opinion. It getting delayed, I also think, is great for that game. Get that game. We need a win before Fair Games comes out, and that win needs to be Marathon.
Yeah.
You need Marathon to come out. It needs to be a win. It changes the tides of what the conversation is, because if Fair Games came out tomorrow, the number one report, the number one question would be, is this Concord 2.0?
I think that's a good point, because if you had it in reverse with Concord and Helldivers 2, I think the conversation around Helldivers 2 would be very different. You know what I mean? But you have Helldivers 2 come out and it's a smash success. Concord flops, and it's like, okay, they succeeded once, they failed once. They're 50-50. It's not all doom and gloom, but if it was just the entire situation was burning going into Helldivers 2, we would have been talking about that game very differently.
And so, that game got to flourish and succeed. Also, like, let's take a deep breath. Let's get some more faith back into what Sony first party is. Mm-hmm. And let's get something like Ghost of Yote out the door before we ship something like Fair Games. And then Bungie, I'm not expecting Marathon to be a 90 plus Metacritic or anything, but it's Bungie. I expect it to be a very well polished multiplayer game.
Here's what I'll say. I do think it'll be polished and like generally content complete.
Yeah.
Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 were not looked at as these great games when they first launched. Yeah. Destiny 1, I remember getting like a 7 out of 10 from IGN when it first came out. It wasn't like this critical darling. So I could see Marathon coming out and being good, and then them needing to kind of build off of it and garner that audience and garner that hardcore fan base that they've come to expect when it comes to the Destiny games. So we'll see with Marathon. I assume it's going to be good to great, and then hopefully we'll just continue to get better and better. So
yeah,
I could see it like launching in early access. I think you launch it in early access, and that kind of gives people a little bit of pause when it comes to being fully critical about it, and you build with the audience and take that feedback and then do a 1.0 release and kind of get that second hit of influx of players.
I could easily see that being the case, but I think that it's still, no matter what, that first, I like, if I'm writing up my article to discuss Marathon, the first question I'm like posing is like when we're doing the review, the question is, what is this going to be Concord 2.0? And I'm happy to say that it is not, or it's sad to say that it is Concord 2.0. That criticism is going to be carried no matter what going into a Marathon or Fairgames, whichever one releases first, whatever the next first party live service release from Sony is going to have that doom and gloom waving over it. And so it's tough to go in, have a game release like this and like hope, even in early access, where there should be a little bit more leniency on like, hey, this isn't the full release, we're trying some new things. It's still, no matter what, is going to be having that head in the guillotine and just waiting to see whether it's going to go and chop down.
Yeah, immediately after saying early access and Marathon, the idea of early access and PlayStation first party together just does not sound right to me. You know what I mean?
Because they want to go prestige. That's their whole MO is, hey, we want to be the prestige title. Right. And I think that Marathon has a good shot to do so. With all these dominoes falling, and whether it is a PlayStation showcase or it is a state of play this May, when do we see Fairgames next?
I could see the September state of play potentially, and then early next year releasing. Yeah,
I think that it would do itself very well if it were to open out a state of play. Don't put the pressure on it to close out a showcase or anything, but get the sign to pop up. I mean, that's the Concord slot.
Yeah, you stick in the middle. You don't take any lessons from Concord and do anything that did. You do not want it to be what starts and everybody's like, ugh. And you put it in the middle and people are gonna be like, okay, you kind of bookended it with Saros, showing off Saros, and then you end it
Ghost
with Resident Evil 9 or something, and then you put Fairgames in the middle, and it's like, oh, that was good, and it looks okay. I'm interested in trying that out or something like that, and it's handled a lot better than having it be Concord and Astrobot, and that's it, or whatever. Where Astrobot's awesome, and then you have Concords in there, like, ew. It's like, this is not like what I want from Sony first party.
I do think that there's a chance September makes sense if this is delayed to 2026. But if you're doing a showcase, I think that's when you call up all your teams and everything, and you say, hey, give us something. Just give us a trailer, give us gameplay, give us something, a new look, whatever. We got to remind everyone, because this is marketing, we got to remind everyone what the Sony slate is for the next couple of years as we close out the PS5 generation.
And slipped to me indicates early 2026.
Yeah. I mean, at one point it was 2025, so I could easily see that being a February next year. We're playing Fairgames and seeing what that is all about. Mm-hmm. Story number 3. After failing to meet expectations at launch, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth shoots to number 3 in US charts with Steam debut. This is Rebecca Valentine over at IGN. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth debuted February 2024 to number 2 on Circana's charts, which ranks video games by dollar sales in the US. It dropped to number 7 the following month and finished out the year at number 17. A bit further into the article, Square Enix ultimately came out saying that the game failed to meet its sales expectations and never even announced a sales figure, suggesting it hadn't done well enough to brag about. But notably, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth launched as a platform exclusive on PS5, and exclusives usually face an uphill battle compared to cross-platform releases when it comes to sales. As of January 2025, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is exclusive no more, finally debuting on Steam and shooting up to number 3 on Circana's charts for the month from number 56 in December. The Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth Twin Pack similarly rose from number 265 in December to number 16 in January thanks to the Steam release. End quote. Connor, this is a fun one. Rising star, shooting star. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's coming back, baby. It's here. It's live.
Fascinating. I am very happy for the people over at Square Enix and the people who worked on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. In our Discord, you can definitely see the excitement that came from the PC release. There was many people who had PS5s even that waited to play it on PC, which I think is fascinating. But it's cool to see this get a new audience and have some hype around it. What's weird to me is that other Sony first-party exclusive games have been coming out on PC and just like not doing that well lately. Like even Spider-Man 2, I know it's not a great port, but like that's a big IP and it's not selling that well on Steam. Like it's not lighting the world on fire. So it's cool to see something like this that's exclusive find a new audience and do really well. I was worried that the trend would continue for these kinds of games that are getting ported after being exclusive, not doing great on PC. I know Final Fantasy 16 didn't do exceedingly well similarly. So it's kind of weird that didn't do well, but this does. I have no idea what the reasoning might be there, but it's good. I'm happy that this is happening.
Just speaking about personal experience, and it probably is my TikTok algorithm because Final Fantasy 7, whatever. I felt like I did see this game marketed a ton, just in general for the PC release. Like, and also this game did have the beauty, the privilege of coming out in a January that was completely, it felt like safety. Like there was not another big shark in the water going and trying to eat up all the play hours when it came to Steam releases. And so I felt like it had a decent shot when it came to this release and delivering the goods, and seemingly so, it delivered. Does this make you waver on what the remake should be doing? Should it be PC day one?
I was thinking about that. It should be, but there's definitely a contract with Sony. They are locked in for the remake franchise, that they are stuck releasing these games exclusively for the time being. I would prefer them to come out on PC day and date. Honestly, generally speaking, I want people to play the games where they can, where they want to on day one. I would like this to come out on Xbox. I would like it to come out on Switch too, obviously, but that just seems to not be the business sense of the situation currently. So I do not expect it to happen. I would like to see it released on more platforms on day one so we can find a bigger audience.
Yeah, I think that it would be cool for it to release on more platforms, but I'm going to take this in the inverse for a little bit of a moment. I mean, apparently the playbook worked where they were able to release it later, and they had obviously you assume a fat contract from Sony that gave them the initial exclusivity clause that goes and pumps money into the game initially. So if you're able to have your cake and eat it too, why not just run the same playbook? If once again, Square Enix, when it comes to them sharing numbers and their sales expectations seem wild, because often it is like, hey, like these games are selling exceedingly well from a just viewpoint, but then you hear internally they're not happy with the numbers and everything.
Yeah, we got 3 million in like the first few months for Rebirth, and that sounds solid.
Yeah, that sounds
really just depends on the budget and their expectations. So.
Totally. And so this game going and selling a ton over on Steam, for me, I'm like, okay, let's say you get that extra million in sales. That might be even a little bit high, but you get that extra influx of sales and everything, and you're able to get the Sony money on the front end, which is, you assume that exclusivity contract is sizable to go and say, hey, one of the biggest game franchises, one of the biggest gaming titles ever that is Final Fantasy 7, we're going to have that exclusive and in-house and keep that tied to PlayStation for at least some sort of timetable, is crazy. I think that if I'm Square, for me, this says, hey, we can do both and be okay doing both, depending if they are now happy with the sales.
This seems like the exception of the rule. Final Fantasy 16 didn't do it in the same way. Like it doesn't. True. So like, why is this happening? They must have some sort of metric on their back end to kind of guide them as to why this is happening this way and when they should be able to do this and expect that second hit. But as an outsider looking in, it's like, I have no idea why this is doing this, and God of War Ragnarok isn't selling exceedingly well on PC. Spider-Man 2 isn't going crazy on PC. Like, there's just a lot of Forbidden West as well. Like, it's weird.
My initial thing when it came to God of War and Spider-Man, this was just my belief on it, was the PlayStation PC players that like play both anyways, they already played it on their PS5. They already got through that.
Then why didn't they do it with this?
For Rebirth, I think that a lot of people at that time, there was this little game called Helldivers 2 that everyone was playing on their PS5, and they're like, I'm not going to worry about the story beat right now.
2 weeks before it. I don't know.
I know that people were playing Helldivers for a cool month plus and everything. It was taking over. I do think that could have had some cause to it. Once again, I'm completely speculating. There is no numbers that back that up, but that was sort of my reasoning that I came up with as I was driving to get Skyline today, where I was like, why the fuck is this the case? It is definitely odd. All right, want to move on to the next one?
Yep.
Headline, Japan studio closed because the AA market has, quote, disappeared, says Shuhei Yoshida. This is Jordan Miller over at VGC. Yoshida, who left PlayStation earlier this year after a 30-year career, has given several interviews about his time at PlayStation. The latest comes from the Sacred Symbols PlayStation podcast. When asked about the closure of PlayStation's Japan studios and fan perception about PlayStation losing its Japanese influence, Yoshida claimed that it was a market that dictated Sony's shift in focus away from Japan studio IP. Quote, "During my time, people give me credit, but one of the things I was not successful at was having a successful service game, and the other thing is I was not able to have amazingly successful games made in Japan," Yoshida explained. Other than Gran Turismo, we had many great products, but didn't really have many AAA level successful products. That became more and more important as the bigger games became bigger. The indies filled the gaps and the AA market seemed to have disappeared, he told the Sacred Symbols Plus podcast. End quote. Connor, where are you at with this when it comes to the AA market disappearing, when it comes to Japan studios not having the influence that it once had in the Sony marketplace and everything? How does this make you feel and everything?
Yeah, I do think that as we kind of discussed, I forget which podcast it was, Casual Gaming or Casual Gaming News, that Sony isn't in the business of making money. They're in the business of making a lot of money. They don't want these AA titles anymore in their portfolio because they don't end up breaking out and becoming smash hits like they might have during the PS1 or PS2 generation. So if you're going to invest money into something, you might as well invest in something that's going to have a ton in the return to help fund your next project and so on and so forth. So I do appreciate the idea that indies and smaller developers that aren't in the first party are kind of filling that space. And it's a bummer to see Japan Studio lose out in this way, because I do love their output. I did love the creativity that came out of that wing of PlayStation during the PS3 and early PS4 era. But I get what he's saying, and I do think that that is the market reality of where PlayStation and gamers currently are. You do see AA games come out every once in a while, and it doesn't seem like we're getting a lot of great out of that space at this point. A lot of stuff just kind of comes and goes, and then you have stuff that is riding that line. Like what comes to mind is like Dead Island 2,
okay,
or that RoboCop game from last year, or the Saints Row game as well. Like just games that like kind of Immortals of Avium that have some money behind them, but like aren't in that major AAA space, that just don't seem to get an audience. And that's not even the kind of stuff that Japan Studio was making. They were making even smaller games oftentimes that like just don't seem to garner a big audience. And I don't think every game needs this massive audience, but it needs an audience.
Yep.
And it needs to make its money back. And I just don't think that these kind of games, unfortunately, where the industry is right now, have this huge space to fill. And it's a bummer for me personally, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the market right now that is 2025 and what we're entering. We discussed it at the start of the episode of like what we're anticipating in the next couple months of video games, and like releasing a AA game amongst the titans that are coming out in the first half of this year. Even things like Doom, or what Xbox is doing with a title like Expedition 33 and pushing that, and pushing something like South of Midnight. And then we have Split Fiction, which is obviously like this breakout hit from this dev team that was a bit smaller and was able to go and take some more risks, and then now is like bloomed and it's become this titan in the industry, which is, hey, they dominate that couch co-op spot and everything every couple of years. And so going and be like, hey, release a AA game amongst everything there is like, you're kind of going to go and set that game out to die, it feels like, unless it's really going to be able to capture some serious secret sauce, but it doesn't seem like that's the case.
A game that really kind of fits into the space of what Japan Studio used to make is something like that game that we just saw during the State of Play, where you have a gun, but it creates things.
Oh, like the Dreams After or something? It has the word dreams in it, right?
Yeah. That game's not going to garner an audience. Like there's no shot unless it's like really special.
We hope to be wrong.
Yes,
we hope to be wrong.
I hope that it's one of the greatest games of all time. Just like I hope every game is great. But like, there's no way that game is going to be this smash hit. So we'll see. But it makes sense, and it's really kind of sad.
Also, shout out to Shuhei Yoshida, who's just been just destroying the interviews and giving us so many good details.
He doesn't give a fuck right now.
Yeah.
After giving such a fuck for so long, he was so buttoned up and very good at giving interviews and like kind of weaseling his way out of giving like a full answer all the time, that now that he's out of PlayStation, he's like, nah, I'll say whatever.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Fuck it. What we talking about?
he's been literally great. Highly recommend going and checking out some of these interviews, because like we've done some reporting and or like I've read some of the reports that have come out from these interviews and everything, and there are some great tidbits. But just listening, I listened to the entire 2-hour one that he did with Greg Miller over at the Kind of Funny Games cast, and I'm like, if this isn't the best shit on the planet, I don't know what is. When it comes to, if you're a video game nerd that like really loves the ins and outs and you watch a show like this, highly recommend checking Shuhei do some of those interviews. It's been phenomenal. And I hope he does more of them, because I feel like we're getting more and more tidbits when it comes to the PlayStation's live services strategy and just other details and just hearing the inner workings.
I wonder how PlayStation feels about it.
Probably not great.
He's probably like, what are they going to do? Like, I don't work there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you put in 30 good years and everything, you're going to be able to have a couple trade secrets slip every now and then.
What a lovely man, too. I love Shuhei Yoshida.
It puts a smile on my face every time I get to hear him yap it up about games. Headline: Marvel Rivals director and entire Seattle design team laid off. NetEase tells fans not to worry about the game. This is Wesley Yeenpool at IGN. Quote, Marvel Rivals developer NetEase has confirmed cuts to its Seattle-based design team for organizational reasons. The video game development community reacted with a mix of shock and anger to the cuts, given Marvel Rivals' explosive success. NetEase issued IGN a statement confirming the layoffs, but failed to specify how many people were cut. Quote, we recently made the difficult decision to adjust Marvel Rivals' development team structure for organizational reasons and to optimize development efficiency for the game, NetEase said. This resulted in a reduction of a design team based in Seattle that is a part of a larger global design function in support of Marvel Rivals. We appreciate the hard work and dedication of those affected and will be treating them confidentially and respectfully with recognition for their individual contributions. But NetEase was keen to stress that the layoffs won't impact ongoing support for Marvel Rivals, whose primary development team is based in China. End quote. Connor, this is a tough one. Successful games going and laying off people. It seems like there's obviously some behind the scenes going on with this that like we fully don't know all about, but this is just such a hard pill to swallow when it comes to seeing the success of Marvel Rivals, seeing the dollar signs that game is raking in day over day, dropping new content updates, and then pairing it with layoffs. It's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, obviously, my heart goes out to the people who lost their jobs. That goes without saying, but none of this makes sense. It's really kind of where I'm at with it. It's like you just said, this game is clearly extremely successful and making a ton of money. It does not make sense that would be met with layoffs. You have to imagine there's something we don't know is kind of what you alluded to, that they NetEase might see this support studio as just like not necessary to keep the game running and functioning. And it was like a redundancy or something. And they were like, okay, like, we need to move on from this. Need being a very like loose word there, that clearly like this didn't need to happen, but there must be something going on that we don't know. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't really have much of a take here other than like, what the fuck?
Yeah. This was one of those that I pulled in on Wednesday because it was just making the rounds of like, it dominated the Tuesday news cycle, and then Wednesday when NetEase came out with its response and everything. And I was just like, this is just one of those yucky stories where you're just like, yeah, our hearts go out to the people that lost their job and everything. And then, but like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it reminds me of Tango Studios and the layoffs that happened there, where it's just like, so you can do everything right and still lose your job, it seems. It is beyond messed up. And so, yeah, I agree. I don't really have like a take, but we need to discuss this, in my opinion, is like major fucking news, being like, how the fuck does this even happen? And it has to be something that we do not know about, because it is so confusing otherwise. Mm-hmm. Last up, headline: next Tony Hawk Pro Skater remaster will shadow drop at Xbox Summer Showcase. It is claimed. This is Sam Seapool at Insider Gaming. I have a write up here in classic casual gaming news conversation fashion. It is being blown up by apparently Tony Hawk's like ProSkater.com going and releasing a countdown. So this now article seems to be a little bit outdated. What the hell is happening, Connor? What are you seeing on the streets?
It's supposed to, the countdown goes up on March 4th. So there seems to be some sort of announcement. I imagine the plans might have changed a little bit just because they were like, okay, this is getting leaked and there's a lot of conversations happening about this upcoming game. We should probably just say something now.
Well, there was also something with Call of Duty and them alluding to Tony Hawk Pro Skater and COD. And
yeah, there was like some secret there, some Easter egg.
So what the hell is happening right now? Like it seems to be all good things.
Can you give me the studio name who made Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remaster? Is it Virtuous or is that because isn't Virtuous making the Oblivion remaster or something? I don't know, or remake.
I got you. Fast. It is Vicarious Visions.
Vicarious Visions. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, V.
Like, yeah, we were there. We were there.
Somewhere. I was in the right ballpark. So yeah, Vicarious Visions gets shut down after. Or folded into Call of Duty support for Activision after the success of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake or remaster or whatever it was. And everyone was like, okay, it's done. Like we're not getting Tony
never
Hawk
seeing
games.
3 and 4.
Yeah, we're not getting Tony Hawk games anymore, at least not for the foreseeable future until something happens. And then here we are less than like 4 years later or something like that. Yeah, because I think it was during COVID or right after that game was getting big, because I know Brady and Mitchell were really into it. And they would just stay inside and play Tony Hawk all day. So yeah, it's awesome that this is happening. I don't know what is happening behind the scenes to make this happen. I don't know if it's Vicarious Visions getting shuffled back around and then being put on another remake / remaster to do 3 and 4, which is apparently a lot of people's favorites. I've never played 3 and 4. I've only played 1 and 2. So it's awesome. I'm excited for the return of Tony Hawk. This series just won't die. 5 comes out, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, and it sucks. It is like one of the worst games ever. And they were like, fuck, okay, that's never coming back. And then we get the remake for 1 and 2, and it's awesome, and people love it. And they're like, okay, we are so back. And then Vicarious Visions get shut down right after that. They're like, what the fuck is happening? And then now they've been shut down for 4 years or just folded into Activision, and now we're getting another one. It's like, what is going on?
This whole story, and like I said at the very start of this, of like, this news story has been basically updated for the past 4 days of like just random small tidbits. Hey, it's rumored. There's somebody on Reddit talking about something on Gaming Leaks or whatever. And then all of a sudden, literally 10 minutes before we start shooting this podcast, Connor just is like, hey, you see this tweet? I was like, no. And he's like, and you pull it up and it's a timer and it's TonyHawk.com basically being like, hey, something's happening in 10 days. It's just like, what the hell even is this? But it is one of those happy stories, it feels like, where it is just like, this is going to be a win. This is going to be awesome. So let's get excited.
And Shadow Drop 2 would be awesome if that is the case.
Dude, if March 4th needs to chill.
Here's the thing. Well, it could be announced and then they can still shadow drop it during the Xbox showcase for like they don't give the release date for the first like teaser trailer here, and then in June
you shadow drop
it.
Here's what I'm realizing, Connor. Here's what I'm saying. There's this little thing called SGF where you, me, Brady, we're gonna fly out to LA hopefully if we're invited back, and we're gonna go and play some games early and probably react to Xbox there. I'm bringing the Series X out this time, okay? Because what if all of a sudden Tony Hawk 3 and 4 drops? I'm saying we push some appointments around and we go and stream for 3 hours some Tony Hawk. That's what I'm about. My last question before we hop into these Patreon names is, what if it's underground?
Yeah, I think it would be cool to be a new Tony Hawk, maybe, potentially, too.
Yeah.
You take the lessons you learned from remaking 1 and 2 and make a new one and actually have it be great. I mean, not Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5.
You want to know what I just realized? Tonight, I don't want to play Ghost. I'm going to play Tony Hawk. I'm going to go and just play some Tony Hawk for a bit.
I'll play it on the PS1 instead.
Yeah. All right, let's go and shout out our dearly beloved members. If you go and sub over at the dearly beloved membership over on Patreon, you get your name read at the end of every single podcast. Thank you so much for making this show happen. People like Dinkelberg,
Sanchuru,
Wonder JG,
Ganesh,
Neutral Sphere,
Outtree,
Charlie W,
Spriggs,
Bago Soup,
Calvin M,
Nuke This Kingdom,
Crispy,
DJ Zach B,
JC,
Uli,
Jacob D,
Brian VD,
Big Mac,
Metal Nate,
Skrillex,
The Patty Cake,
Yogi,
Damn,
Holden M,
Joe P,
Shane O'Mac,
Colin C,
Brock,
Voodoo,
Dr. Pookie Bear,
Alex the Golden,
Andrew H,
New Amsterdam,
Master Diz,
Jesse F,
Gloomy,
Bad Fella Gage,
Drifter X1, Skirt,
Hope,
Presto,
Maverick,
Goops,
J Matt B3,
Ali Benali,
Michael B,
General G Dog,
Vorpal Matt.
and Brian.
Thank you so much for making this show happen. We will see you in the next one. Peace out.